everyone, and welcome back to The Perspective. My name is Ethan, and your host for the evening are secular... Wait, that's a sexual rarity.
Oh, I forgot
Your
to
name's spelled
change
wrong.
that. Yeah, I forgot to change that from last time. Do you want me to,
Secular...
or
No, you can keep... I mean, if you
we'll
want people...
we'll let
to
it ride? Yeah, yeah.
So we've got Secular Rarity and Jim Barrows. How you guys doing?
Great, man. Great, great. Oz calls me that. If y'all aren't familiar with that guy over at his wonderful channel on Tang, but I'm excited. I was getting in the mood for this show today because my coworker had been giving me a hassle for like 2 or 3 weeks now to watch this show, Fear Street. I don't know if y'all have seen that or not. But it's like all like spooky, witchy, whatever stuff. So I probably should have been working, and I probably shouldn't admit to this on a recorded video, but I was not today. Instead, I was watching one of those. So it was good. It got me in the headspace. So
it's fun discussing this stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Like I was saying right before we went live, like I would love to find Nessie. I would love to find Bigfoot. I think that would be so interesting.
Agreed. Or Mothman.
Oh, Mothman.
Oh, Mothman.
Yeah. Tell us.
So,
okay. Oh no, go ahead.
I got cookies suggested. Like she said, they said they'd like to see a Mothman caller. So what I did after they said that is I went on Facebook. I quickly joined a few Mothman groups, and I made a post in there. It says, "Does anyone have compelling evidence for Mothman?" There's been a couple replies already in just a few short minutes. So I'm going to work on getting Mothman callers while I'm behind producing and see if we can get anyone to call in, because that
awesome.
We got a bunch of calls already. So are you guys ready to jump into it?
Let's do it.
All right. I'm going to bring on, for those that don't know, this is a show where we tackle, I almost forgot the intro, paranormal and supernatural claims, belief in aliens, conspiracy theories, and pretty much any claim you want to bring us. So we'll get started. Your first caller is a medium and wants to talk about her experiences. Sherry from Illinois, you are on with Secular Rarity and Jim Barrows.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. How you doing?
Fine. So you just want me to share some things?
Yeah.
Give us an experience or two that you found really interesting or compelling.
Okay. The whole thing's where do I start? I was a regular, suburban housewife in Chicago, raising the kids, and I guess I had this classic spiritual awakening. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. And one day I woke up a medium. Okay. So that's what I do professionally now. I talk to dead people. But in the meantime, when this started, I started having prophetic dreams, visitations in my sleep. I was like, what the hell is happening to me? And I was being taught like all this like wisdom knowledge, from like truth, at least truth to me. And one particular day, I was born Catholic, but I wasn't religious whatsoever. Actually hated church. And one day, like I never thought about like archangels or angels. To me, at the time I was just a regular mom. I didn't give it much thought. And one day I was actually talking to a psychic on the phone, and she's like, Archangel Michael's with you. So in my head, I'm like, lady, you're crazy. Well, right at that time, I actually felt Archangel Michael stand behind me. And you guys kind of have to imagine this. I felt every feather from like my neck down to my feet closing around the front of my body, like almost like a cocoon would be. And I just felt this like unconditional love and bliss, like it touches your heart when you're touched by the divine. So that's where my truth came from, knowing, Archangel Michael was real. He's come to me numerous times, and other angels have too. And when they do come, the way, like if it happened to you guys, you would know it would be truth, is they actually touch your heart and you feel this divine love in your heart that we don't feel as a human being.
Can I jump in for a second, Sherry?
So that's now I do work with the archangels.
Yeah. Can I just jump in for a sec? Because I want to just clarify something for my own self. But it sounds like what you're saying is that you are able to have these psychic activities and so forth. But it sounds like you're saying that they're connected through like the stories and the angels and that kind of symbolism and so forth. Are you saying that your psychic ability is because of like biblical angels and so forth? Is that what you're saying? Oh,
No,
okay.
no.
What's the connection to
I believe
Gabriel?
that. Well, they just, I guess, appeared to me because they do help me in my work now as a
Okay.
medium. So, I give messages to people from angels, from dead people, whatever. And I also believe that it's a gift from our own soul. And I think that it's just another sense. And every one of us is born a psychic and medium. Granted, some people might be better than others and how much work you want to put into it, right? But I do just think that was what my soul wanted to do or came here to do. And I was like the last one to know. Because when it does happen to you, and it happens to a lot of people, these spiritual awakenings, and your gifts just open up. But they're gifts from your soul. They're
So,
you,
I mean,
you know?
how
my
do you distinguish between these feelings you have and mild hallucinations? How do you distinguish between those two things?
Did you say mild hallucinations?
Yes.
Is that what you said? Okay,
Yes,
sorry,
I
I
did.
couldn't understand you. Oh, well, first off, I know I'm a very sane, logical person. Because I actually, so I'm an empath also, so I'm a psychic medium empath, and I do like healing work. Like I said, when the angel touched your heart, when you get the physical feeling, that's not like a mental hallucination, you know what I mean? So like
No,
now when I do my
I
work,
don't.
if it's,
That's the problem. Is I don't understand
well,
what you mean by that.
well, that's okay.
Because I mean, brains are brain chemistry, and brain chemicals can do some really, really weird stuff to us, and we can hallucinate all kinds of stuff. And sometimes it's a whole new reality, and sometimes it's much, much less. So there's a number of phenomena that happen, and I'm trying to figure out how you would go about determining whether it's just something happening in your head versus something real.
Because when, let's say you called me for a reading, right? The evidence, so basically I'm a very evidential medium, and a medium means I talk to spirit, okay?
Okay.
Let's say if I was giving you a reading, and I'm just saying, everybody can have their own truth. I'm just here to open maybe some minds that the afterlife is real. Like I would be like, your mom is here and she worked at the grocery store and you have her cross necklace, like that. The information spirit gives me is so evidential. You as a client, let's say, would believe it by the evidence that I bring through from spirit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well,
I base
so
everything on evidence.
Could you, is it possible that you could maybe do something like this for us right now? Is it
If I would have known if I knew ahead of time, I would have, because I kind of open up like with meditation.
Well, that's
with
okay.
One of you is
meditation or
going to
Google
have a job
searches?
change. Wait. Is one of you having a job change?
Nope.
I'm not. But Sherry, I
Who's
will just
thinking
say
of it?
before we go much further, because I definitely have some other questions, and I think Jim does too, probably. But let me remind you and everybody out there, 951-364-2430. We're here every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central, Sherry. So definitely, there are some other really cool people that come and host this show. It's not just me and Jim. And I know they would probably love to have a reading done too. So if you're willing, we'd love to have you come back.
I can come back.
Do that. Yeah, next time.
Sure.
Well, let me.
Yeah, because like intuitives tend to get prepared before we do a reading. It's not just fly by.
So let me ask something that's kind of been bouncing around my head. I'm wondering, because a lot of this sounds specific. It sounds like you. It's not really like a vague concept for you. It's some very specific activities and details and feelings and so forth. Where did this come from? Did you read a book that talked about it, or did you go talk to some people that were trained in this before, or where did these specifics come from when it comes to your psychic abilities? Does that make sense?
So it's very common. I can tell you exactly. If you talk to some really gifted people that do this professionally, I mean, some people, I guess you're just born with it, but you guys know what a spiritual awakening is?
Nope. I don't know what you mean by the word spiritual
Never heard of that?
first. Yeah, I don't know what you mean by spiritual, because everybody seems to have a definition that does not fit the dictionary definition or the most common usages of the word spiritual. So, why don't you start with your definition of spiritual?
Yeah, tell us what you mean by that.
Well, so to me, my spiritual awakening is basically like when you know how like we're all raised a certain way and all your beliefs and your belief systems come from parents, school, whatever, however you're raised. It's almost like when your soul decides to open up, and my soul like just came to me and started talking one day. But most people that have these awakenings, or they use the word enlightenment.
So how did you determine it
You ever
was
heard the
your
word
soul
enlightenment?
and not a again, I keep coming back to how do you know this is a soul and not a split personality or just your own inner voice that a lot of people have? How did you determine
Well,
that this
wait,
was
you just
something?
said it. The inner voice is your soul.
No, the inner voice is something
Okay, so
that we can actually track with scientific instruments, and that we can actually that we know actually exists. That is not the soul, right?
right.
How are you defining soul?
Well, actually, I'm just gonna. I can only, you have your truth, I have mine, and whoever's listening.
Well, how
To
are you
me, the
defining
spiritual
truth then?
awakening, and if you talk to, how can I prove it?
No, how are you defining
I can
truth? Because
only.
to me, truth is that which is in accordance with reality. And so there is no such thing for me as your truth and my truth, right? There's only those things that are in accordance with reality. So how is your concept of a soul in accordance with reality?
I can only share my experiences, and my soul came to me one
Okay.
day. Okay, you know, how can I, when you were talking about the spiritual awakening, so what happened, which is really common with highly gifted people, or even just average people with any gift, it usually is preceded by a trauma. It could be a divorce, grief, whatever. And I'm a true believer in that we have to almost like break our heart open to reach our soul. Okay. That's how it was for me. Like my dad got paralyzed, my child was sick for a year or whatever. And I'm really just truly believe that, and there's other people that are in my line of work that would agree with me. We break open our heart and then our soul can emerge. And then we become our true selves, right? Not the person we were raised. And then we do find our own truth. So what I do is my truth. It doesn't have to be yours, and that's fine. My work will speak for itself, and then you can, or whoever can then judge if it's real or not. I don't care because I know my path. You guys do yours.
How
okay?
would we,
But
Sherry?
like one day when I was asleep.
Oh no, go ahead. Finish the story, and I'll ask a question. Go ahead, finish. I'll ask a question after.
So, in particular, I get a lot of teachings in my sleep. So one night I was asleep, and something in my sleep was talking to me, and it kept saying, "See me for who I am." So in my sleep, I'm interacting. So it's like a lucid dream, right? I'm actually having full out conversations in my sleep. And I kept yelling, "Who are you? Who are you?" And then this voice responded to me, "I'm your inner compass," which is the soul. So you know how people talk about we have guides, angels, whatever? I feel that our soul is really our true essence and who we are eternally. Like when we die and we drop the body, which is a vehicle, right? The soul, our spirit, is the internal part that returns to consciousness. Like I believe we're all one. We're all one mind. You know what I mean? We're one energy.
No, because I don't have any evidence for it. So, and every time somebody says something like that, they mean something completely different. So,
well, then have you ever asked your
hang
soul
on just a
or
second. Hang on just a second,
God or
Sherry.
whatever that you believe in to give you an experience or give you a truth?
I did. Yes. When I was a Catholic, yes,
then you need to talk to your soul somewhere.
Well, hang
so,
on a second, Sherry. Let me ask something, because you said this really quickly earlier, and I was a little confused by it. You said that your results would speak for themselves, and people could determine whether or not it's true on their own. I guess what I'm confused about with that, like what Jim said earlier about, basically like the truth is what the facts are. I think Aaron Ross says that a lot. And I think that's a really simple way of understanding it. How would you and I come to different facts about reality? Would it be that the facts of reality are different, or would it be that our interpretation of them is different?
I think that as an individual, I think we all, like I said, talking about belief systems, and we all come from different belief systems or whatever. I mean, all I can say is my work speaks for itself, and to me, that is evidential. And there actually are, the other guy, whatever his name is, you can actually look up brain scans on YouTube of mediums. They will do a brain scan. So this is what you want evidence. They've done a brain scan on mediums where they do the brain scan when we're just having a conversation like this, right?
Yeah.
Then they do brain scans when the medium is channeling. And
Sure.
it actually shows that when the medium is channeling, it is coming from a different area of the brain. Like
Okay.
they can see the difference between the two scans.
What,
So
what
if you
I,
go out there, you can find the brain scan evidence.
Sure. What I was kind of getting at, Sherry, was it seems to be that you accept that other people could engage with you in these types of activities and come to a different conclusion about the results. And they could walk away and say, hey, maybe that wasn't as real as I thought it was. Was I misunderstanding that, or was that what you were saying?
No, what I'm saying is, I think we just all have different beliefs, and we can.
Well, hang on.
This is
important. This is important. This is why I ask this. I ask that specifically because if you believe that other people could engage in the same activities as you, and they come away with a different conclusion, my question for you really is there anything that you could think of that may make you feel differently about the conclusion? Like, would there be something that could occur that would cause you to think, well, maybe this isn't as well founded?
No, because my experiences are my experiences, and that's my truth.
There's nothing.
Like
there's
said,
nothing that could happen
every day.
tomorrow, Sherry. There's nothing conceivable that could happen tomorrow that would change the way you feel about the facts of the matter. Make you feel
regarding
like it
mediumship.
wasn't. Yeah.
No, because I feel like I can't explain it unless you have the experience. But so basically, when spirit comes around me, I physically feel them. My ear hums when spirit's around me. I've been touched by spirit. I think I told you that, Ethan. I've been physically touched. My body being an empath, I feel here like I get tingles. My ear hums. I felt, actually I had a spirit's hand one time, put their hand on my hand and push my hand down where it actually felt like a woman's hand. I told you I had read a client and the dead guy was a kind of a bad guy in real life. And I knew he hadn't left my home. And I went to bed and I actually felt a man's body, like I was sleeping like in a fetal position. I actually felt a man's body, even though it was a spirit, it felt like a human body to me with his arm around me in bed. So how can I don't think I could ever change my mind on that, because I'm not only getting it mentally. So if you do think someone has a mental problem, I'm actually feeling it physically. And I said, the only way a medium can prove if they're real, and I'm not saying there's good ones out there and there's bad ones and there's fakes. Okay. I'm not saying that. Not everyone is a good medium, but if you do go to a good medium and they do bring such specific evidence, because you guys are asking for evidence. Well, if that medium can give you information about your dead mom, dad, child, whatever, that is not Googleable, I guess I could ask you guys, would that open your mind or would that change your mind or your view? You know what I'm saying?
It would all depend upon the evidence and what it was. I've had several mediums try this on me, and none of them have been close to correct. And it is kind of funny to watch them because I know what most of the tricks are. For instance, if we were to actually do it, the way I would set this up is I would Google myself, and anything you said that was in Google, I'd just say, nope, that's on Google. And the other thing I would do is I'd turn off my camera.
That's right. Yeah.
So you can't see and get anything off of my facial expression, so you cannot cold read me. There's just so many different ways that you can fake this that, that just kind of is the bare minimum right there to do, right, where you can meet that.
Have you researched the scientific, and what is it? I think it's a college or university in Arizona. Have you looked into all the...
Are you talking about the guy at Arizona who is a anesthesiologist who's doing research into nanotubes and some other stuff regarding souls and the rest of that?
If you told me his name, I would know. I know, like I think it's the University of Arizona or somebody did.
Yep, he's at U of A at Tucson.
Studies on psychics and mediums.
He's not doing studies on psychics mediums. The guy that I'm thinking of is doing research into how not nano into quantum tubes and some other stuff to prove that consciousness exists in the quantum realm.
Are
Yeah,
you talking about Dr. Joe Dispenza?
yeah, I don't remember his name because I mean, honestly, his stuff is
Okay, look up
just
that guy.
bad.
Look up Dr. Joe Dispenza when you have time, because he's actually like studies the brain, but he's also had a near-death experience. So he's actually, and this is what's happening in the world now. Science is meeting spirituality or spirit, whatever word you want to give it, consciousness. I don't care what word you use; it's all the same thing to me. And they're actually now coming out with scientific proof where science is meeting spirituality.
Yeah, and every time I look at that stuff, it's like, oh my God, you got the guys in Colorado who are doing the research into heavy hallucinogenics and trying to go, oh yeah, that proves that God is real. Really, no, it doesn't.
Oh, people are doing ayahuasca and DMT and all that stuff.
Yeah, and none of that stuff proves anything.
People do mushrooms to have an experience, right? I don't do that.
Right, and see, here's kind of where we come back to, right? So you had a whole bunch of stress in your life, and that's when your quote unquote medium abilities came about. Do you know what also is caused by a tremendous amount of stress in your life? Yeah.
Is that what you're going to go to?
Hallucinations and breaks with
reality.
That's
what I was hearing in my head.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine.
Because I've said that multiple times. That's not a big deal.
Yeah, no, I'm not psychotic. I live a very nice life.
I didn't say you were psychotic. See, you're using terms you don't understand, right? Because you
right,
could be.
But I'm also going to say though.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say is, it's going to be hard to explain to somebody that's very logically minded, and be open is all I can say. Is like, maybe if you start, maybe you have done this. I actually think you have, questioning and asking for experiences, and open your mind to maybe that this stuff is possible. And then actually that would make a reader be able to read you easier too if you're not blocking them.
Sherry, can I ask one more question, and then I'm gonna toss it to Jim if he has anything left, and then we're gonna get on to some of these other awesome callers. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And if there is something, a procedure or a practice that you need to do before, being able to channel and so forth, I have to. I don't know if I can speak for Ethan, the great producer of this show, but I'm going to anyway. So call back in next week or the week after, same time, same great place. One of the questions that often comes to my mind when I hear people telling me stories like this is, kind of the stuff that Jim and I do a lot. We love to be here, and we love to have people, push back on us and challenge us, and just kind of, knives sharpening knives, right? Just getting more and more refined. And I guess,
let's go, guys.
Yeah, right. We'll battle it out one of these days for sure.
Let's go. Call me on a 1-to-1.
my question, Sherry, is let's say it was possible, total hypothetical, have no idea what the heck it could be, but in this book right here, I actually have the answer that disproves everything. Would you want to know what's in this book? Would you be interested in that? Would you look at that?
What? Yeah, I mean, I don't know what book you're talking about.
No, it was just a total hypothetical.
I read everything.
It was just a total hypothetical, because I've talked with people before in this.
Course.
Yeah, okay, good. And I think that's really valuable.
No, I'm totally open to anything and everything. I mean, that's
sweet.
Probably why I'm open to what I do, right?
Sure. Well, yeah, I appreciate that, and I think that's what some people definitely lack in these conversations is whenever they do believe something so strongly, they don't even want to look. They don't even want to open the book, right? But I think that's that's great that you do. So, Jim, do you have anything else before we?
Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say I'm open to anything, because I think that I'm a person. I guess I'm kind of rebellious. I like saying I'm limitless, because then I think more can come. And I think that the more knowledge we can get, helps us get to the truth. But like I said, when you have a supernatural experience, can we always prove it? Absolutely not. But I just pray that, or I ask that you guys both have an experience, and then it would be really kind of cool to see. You're going to be like, when it happens to you, it's like so exciting. It's like, oh my God, this shit's real, right? And it really was life-changing for me and got me like on a totally different path. And my whole world opened up, and opportunities, or, even me being here right now, or synchronicity started. And the pure blessings and miracles that happened to me are like amazing when I got onto my path. I can't speak for yours, but when I'm on my path, how it opened, all the doors and floodgates opened up for me when I embraced it, I guess would be the word.
Jim,
Okay.
any
Yeah.
final thoughts?
So you say you're an empath, and most people who are empaths are just
Mhm.
really, really hyper aware of body language and facial expressions, and micro expressions in particular. Um, and so it would be interesting to see if you're still an empath when you have no interaction with somebody, where you can actually not see their body language, not see the micro expressions, and even
Well, I do that
take the
every day.
quality of the voice and make it
Yeah,
more
I can do that.
mechanical, and you can't.
Yeah. Well, no, I can't, because I do most of my readings on the phone. So let's say it's not going to happen in every reading, but let's say I'm giving you a reading on the phone. I don't see you. I'm just talking to you like I'm talking to you now. All of a sudden, my body actually feels pain. I'll get a sharp pain in my shoulder. And I'm like, dude, what's wrong with your shoulder? I can feel it. But also spirit, when they come to me, I let spirit blend in my body. And I don't think that's crazy, but I let spirit blend with me and come like really close with me. And I do public events on stages. Okay. So a lot of people have seen me do this, on public stages. And particularly one reading I'm thinking of, I was on a stage. There's 50 people there watching me. All of a sudden, I'm like limping and stomping my right foot or my right leg, and I couldn't walk on my right leg. I'm like, what the hell? Ends up, so the reading continued, and I'm like, okay, my right leg, I can't use it. It was like it's almost like a phantom thing. Like my leg wasn't there. Well, it ends up, the person that I was giving the reading to, his dead brother got his leg cut off right before he died. So spirit will use my body by like making me feel their pain. So like if mom died of a heart attack, sometimes I get heart pain. So I not only get it from spirit, but I will also sometimes, not all the time, sometimes we'll get it from you, the client.
Well, Sherry, like I said before,
really
we've got some other really wonderful and interesting calls we want to go to, but we really, really appreciate you hanging out with us and speaking with us. And again, please connect with Ethan. And if you know anybody else that's a medium or has psychic abilities and would like to call in and talk about
I know
some
lots
stuff,
of people.
oh, please direct them to Ethan. Just flood that man's DMs. He's gonna hate me for saying that. Jerry, we're gonna let you go, and we're gonna talk to some other people.
Okay.
But thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, guys. God bless. Take care. Enjoy.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
So, real quick, Jim, I'm gonna say something that definitely stuck out to me, because I think it's important. Because a lot of times when we talk about religion or beliefs of all kinds or hallucinations, the first thing we want to do, and I do it too. I say, I'm not crazy,
Right.
That has nothing to do with it. There's nothing. I see things out of the corner of my eye all the freaking time. I hear things all the time. I feel like my phone is vibrating in my pocket. All of these things are just completely normal and they're natural. I mean, you said it, the brain has some weird chemicals that do some wild stuff. So
Yeah, and everything that she described, I mean, there is research that shows that people who are highly empaths are really doing nothing more than really, really good at reading people.
yeah.
Primarily because they have to, from their backstories and origin stories. They had to be really, really good at reading people, and so that's what they got super scary good at. Um, and it's also a question of hits and misses. So how does she walk her way to something that is correct? I mean, what happened before she she said there was a pain in the shoulder, and uh, she guessed that there was something wrong with the shoulder or someone had been amputated. There are a series of really good questions that if you know your stuff, you can pull stuff out of people.
Yeah.
And make some really good reasonable guesses just based on, percentages and odds. So, losing a leg now is much less common, but if you find out that, somebody has a military background or has friends or family who are military, all of a sudden losing a limb becomes a much higher probability to happen.
Yeah.
And this is, and then there's the one thing that really bugs me the most is the whole, your truth is your truth and my truth is my truth. That's just such a load of BS.
Yeah.
We all live in the same reality. Please, let's at least agree on what that is. But.
That seems, unfortunately, I would say, 5 years ago, Jim, if we had been hanging out here, I would have said, no, don't be scared. But I don't know these days, man.
Yeah.
You're looking at the calls too. What do you think? You want to do a Bigfoot call?
Yeah, let's do Bigfoot.
Dude, let's talk with Robert down in North Carolina. It looks like. Robert, you were on with Jim and Secular Rarity. What's up, man?
Well, we're doing pretty good. We're working a little bit tonight. How you guys doing?
We're working ourselves.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad to see you and be amongst working people.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, what do you got for us, man? Have you come across Bigfoot? Do you have maybe some footprints or something? What's going on?
Well, actually, on my phone, I do have one or two pictures that could be Bigfoot prints. I'm not going to say that they are, and I'm not going to say that they aren't. To give a small background on myself, back in 2007, I formed a paranormal team called Go Dark Paranormal Investigations out of Western North Carolina. And we'd been investigating paranormal for quite a few years. In 2012, we decided we was going to try to, investigate and see if there's any truth in on these cryptid tales. Well, in 2019, there's another Bigfoot group come out called Bigfoot 911 out of McDowell County, North Carolina. And I got up with two members of them. We went into this one particular area. We were just going to go in there to see if, in fact, there was enough evidence like footprints or unidentified hair in a barbed wire fence or something other of that nature to warrant for us to go in on an investigation. Well, granted, we wasn't really and truly prepared. This was right in the middle of deer season, right around November of 2019. We went into this area, and on both sides of the trail, it's straight up and down on both sides. I mean, I know you guys probably don't much know about Southern dialect, but as far as we say down here in the South, it was so steep, a billy goat would have trouble in four-wheel drive going up and down either side of those hills.
Jim and I are both pretty Southern. We got you.
Yeah.
All right. Now I'm as Southern as I come, and I'm not going to change for anybody, to be honest. But we walked probably 3 or 4 miles up into this big open hollow back up in there, and the sun was getting pretty low in the sky. And I turned around and looked at Brad. I said, "Did you bring a flashlight?" I said, "I forgot mine." He stood there a minute and he said, "Oh crap." Well, this is like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and the sun was already starting to set, and it got pitch black dark at 5:35. I mean, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face at 5:35 in the afternoon. So I said, we'll go on up through here a little bit more. We weren't having too much luck. We found a few trees that was snapped off that we standing there looking, thinking, could that be the wind? Because we hadn't had no weird weather in a pretty good while, and it looked like pretty fresh breaks. Well, all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, where the sun was shining, I see something other blonde-looking color glistening out of the corner of my eye, and I just turned my head and looked about halfway up on the ridge, about 110 yards out. And all of a sudden, I just elbowed Brad. I said, "Did you I said, are you seeing what I'm seeing? I said, is this what we've been looking for? He looks up and he says, yes, my friend, that is exactly what you're looking at. This creature was light blonde in color from the top of its head to the end of its toes. Looked like the size of anywhere between a 5 to an 8-year-old kid. Built like a professional wrestler. I mean, there were muscles on this creature that I didn't even know anything could have muscles in. It runs across this log. Log's probably 25 feet long, give or take. Runs across this log and does a head first dive into a laurel thicket. Hits the ground just exactly like a cat. No noise, no nothing. Now, take in mind now, this is November 2019. Leaf litter is thick on the ground, and you can hear a squirrel at 80 yards in the woods playing. I mean, you can't go through the woods at that time of year without making any noise. So I'm standing there, plumb perplexed, because this is the first time I've ever encountered anything like this. And I said, Brad, are we seeing things, or was that what we're seeing? He said, yes. He said, that's exactly what we saw. So as we start to turn to ask his brother Nick if he saw the same thing, I see something else in the corner of my eye, about 35, 40 feet off to the right, where that individual, well, creature, I should say, took off running. There's another one with it. This creature is about 4 foot wide across its shoulders, light brown color. Only thing I could see was about the waist up. This thing looks at all three of us, back straight up against a big old oak, and that oak that it backed up to, you couldn't reach around it. No, there's no way one human could reach around that oak. And just slunk straight down into the ground and disappeared into the laurel thicket where they was at. I turned around, I looked at Brad, I said, what do you think was going on? He said, here's my opinion. And Brad's a member of the Bigfoot 911 team, and so is his brother Nick. He said, I believe, he said, they was up there playing, he said, or just hanging out doing whatever they do. He said, and we startled them. I said, Brad, I said, do you have your wood knocking stick? He said, it's like my American Express card, dude. He said, I don't leave home without it. I said, step up there, I said, to that maple, I said, and give it a pop. I said, see what happens. He said, all right, well, the maple is about 16 to 18 feet above where we was at on the trail. He goes up there and he hits that tree about 3 times. I said, now hush. I said, let's see what happens. Lo and behold, 80 yards above where the juvenile went into the bushes, we get 3 tree knocks back. Well, this gets us all 3 excited. We're like, hot dog. We've not had this happen before. Well, Brad says, well, let's go up through there. I said, Brad, wait a minute. I said, you remember what your daddy said? He said, oh, yeah. He said, these things hunt in packs like wolves. I said, we're surrounded. I said, if they want to get us, we are going to get got. We don't have a flashlight. I said, the only light that we have is our cell phone. The only camera we have is our cell phone. And a lot of people that's asked me when I've told this story, well, why didn't you get pictures? Why didn't you do this?
Yeah.
Why didn't you do that? Yeah. Guys, I'm gonna be just as honest as I can possibly be, and this is no BS to it. When you see something other like this, a camera is the last thing to go through your mind saying, oh God, I need to grab my camera, because you're sitting there your mind is going into a complete meltdown thinking, am I hallucinating? Am I actually seeing this? I've seen rabbits, I've seen squirrels, I've seen deer, I've seen bear, I've seen anything in the woods that's native to Western North Carolina. I've seen bobcats slip up on snowbirds. You name it, I've seen it. I have never seen anything on this planet move that quick, that agile, and that fast. I mean, in a blink of an eye, he was from one end of that log to the other end, made a head first dive into that laurel thicket, hit the ground just like a cat, never made a sound.
Can I
And
can I
I've
jump
seen
in for a
bobcats
second?
do that plenty of times.
Can I jump in for a
Yes,
second,
yes,
Robert?
sir.
Because
You sure can.
it sounds like it definitely sounds like an experience, like one of those, there's 5 people standing around and the car runs into the storefront, and 5 people now have all kinds of, they say, wow, we saw sparks, and the next guy goes, well, it was a blue car, and the next guy says, whatever the hell he says. But I am wondering about this. I thought you started off the story by saying you guys were out there, like, intentionally looking to find something like this. Was I misunderstanding that, or is that why you were out there?
Well, our original intention, we wasn't exactly looking for the creature itself. We were looking to see if the area may have possibly had those creatures. We were looking for footprints, or we was looking for tree structures or something along those lines. As far as actually going in prepared to look for this creature, we wasn't prepared. We were caught completely, teetotally off guard.
So you
and
okay?
that is
Okay.
the God's
So-
honest gospel truth.
Right.
Okay.
So you said that the leaves were on the ground. You couldn't move without making a sound. This thing dived into a thicket without making a sound. That all sounds like
Right.
this thing is somehow or other violating the laws of physics and not making a sound. How would it be possible for a creature to do the things just in terms of making a sound, diving into a thicket? How is it possible a creature could do that? Any creature, how would it be possible for that to happen?
Very easily. A bobcat or any other type animal like that knows how to shift the weight when they hit the ground. That's just like with the Native Americans. That's just like Geronimo. They followed him into a middle of a field, and back then they didn't have John Deere riding lawnmowers and Massey Fergusons and this, that, and the other. You follow somebody into a field, the weeds may be 10 foot tall.
Right.
All right. He would bury up the end of the grass, and the cavalry would be standing within 6 inches of him and couldn't find him.
But so here's kind of my
Hey,
point, though. You
following-
said that wasn't possible. That was your phrase. You said it wasn't possible to move through without making any noise. And now you're saying it is possible by simply shifting your weight.
Well, let me rephrase that, because you may have misunderstood me. Most humans, when they go in the woods, whether they're looking for something other or whether they're just out there just for the heck of it per se, 9 times out of 10 you're not paying attention on how you're walking. If a creature like that, according to Native American folklore and all the cave drawing evidence and everything, supposedly been around for 1,600 years or longer, and supposedly, according to folklore, that the Native Americans did in fact trade with these creatures until somebody betrayed the other. I'm not sure whether the Bigfoot got betrayed or whether the Native Americans got betrayed by the Bigfoot. I don't know. I'm not well educated on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
They, you talk about any Indian in the woods, you're going to notice he's got a different gait than what most anybody else has got.
So
they know how to shift the weight, they know how to walk, and they can slip up on you in a heartbeat.
But just kind of to Jim's question there, it sounds like what Jim was saying was, at first you said the fact that this creature could do this thing, this ability to move so fast and just be so silent about it. At first it kind of sounded like you said that was one of the things that made you say this had to be something special, something different. But then it seems to be the case that you feel really comfortable. Like it sounds like a lot of people can do this. Like, we've just got lots of evidences of various people throughout history. So is that ability for that creature to move so quickly and so silently, is that really that fantastical of a thing? Or is it something that apparently just with enough training an animal or a person could do it? Does that make sense?
Well, if you're born in an environment that involves nature, 99.9% of the time. Yes, it's possible for any woodland creature to do that. I've been sitting in the deer stand plenty of times, and leaf litter on the ground in the wintertime, be sitting there, be watching deer trails and everything, and then all of a sudden you hear a stick pop. I'm sitting there thinking, okay, where did that come from? And turn my head and look over my left or right shoulder. There'd be a deer standing right there that didn't even come up the trail.
Yeah.
How that deer come up through there as stealthy, it knows what it's doing. Okay, let's put this in a different perspective. Let's just say that.
Well, in this case with the deer, can I ask you a question about this? In this case with the deer, was your mind wandering at that point?
Absolutely. I was sitting there trying to figure out how that devil snuck up on me without me hearing it.
No, before the twig snapped, was your mind wandering and were you thinking about something else?
I was just sitting there watching squirrels play.
Right. So you weren't paying attention. Wouldn't you say it's easy to sneak up on someone who's not paying attention?
It's very easy to do that, even with somebody that is paying attention. Let's take serial killers, for example.
I
sneak
kind
up
of
on the person they want, but I mean, that's a horse of a different color.
right. And my point is, how do you know that you were paying attention well enough to your surroundings that a deer couldn't have come galloping up, making up all kinds of noise, and you just weren't paying attention until you heard the twig snap?
Well, anything's possible.
Sure.
Right, because people, drive cars and can't remember how they got home, right? This is a known phenomenon. It doesn't mean you're driving unsafe. It just means that your mind is not processing everything for memory, to put it into memory. And so this kind of goes back to
I totally agree with that.
Okay, but that just goes back to my question. You had a deer sneak up on you. I don't think that it is necessarily the skill of the deer that allowed that, right? It was a combination of a deer probably moving carefully through the woods and you not paying attention that allowed that to happen. I don't know that it's necessarily the stealth skills of a deer.
Well, I don't rightfully know how to answer that, to be honest.
Well,
Okay.
I think that is awesome, honestly, Robert. I think that experience right there of being asked a really good question that makes you sit back for a second and go, well, damn, let me think on that. And I will ask if you want to. I know I have had fun hanging out and listening, and it sounds like you might even have a couple of other stories, especially some of those groups and stuff. Would you want to come hang out here again? Maybe 7 p.m. Central Time right here on this awesome channel every Tuesday? Maybe not every Tuesday, Robert. You don't have to commit to that. We just met, but
I would be honored to be on your show at any given time if you gentlemen would be willing to have me back.
I think we would love it, and there are some other wonderful hosts that would really enjoy that too. So, thank you so much, Jim. Was there anything else you wanted to say before we grab some?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Because anything else I had to say is going to be a longer conversation.
Yeah,
and we do
we're
need
gonna
to
start
move
down
on.
a whole other. That's right. That's right.
Right.
Call us back, man.
All righty, you gentlemen have a good night and be safe now.
All right, you too.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks.
Real quick, I think there were a couple of super chats. I want to shout out Asexual Atheist, Student Dr. Ben, and Ameet Mathew said some wonderful things. Jim, what are you doing after? Are you busy? Do you got like 5 minutes? You want to?
Yeah, I'm probably going to do the Discord after show thing. So.
Discord after show. Oh gosh, that'll be a good time, and we'll hopefully we'll have some other cool people there. It looks like Kenda down in Florida might be next up here.
Yep.
What are you thinking, man? This sounds like a haunted museum. Hey, Kenda.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Doing good.
Good. Sounds like it. Great show.
Thank you.
What is this? What haunted museum? What happened?
Okay, I'll just quick backstory.
Yeah.
I'm a skeptic myself. I was born very analytical. I was not born a medium. I have no abilities in that direction. I'm a communications tech. So I record EVP and ITC, instrumental transcommunication, electronic voice phenomena. I have members of my family that were born spirit sensitives. So I witnessed a lot of stuff as I was growing up, but totally analytical, totally skeptical. And I started communicating to prove one way or the other for myself and, sort of to vindicate my relatives who were always getting bagged on by other people because, this stuff doesn't exist, blah, blah, blah. So I started recording using digital recorders. Sometimes I do ghost boxing, that kind of stuff. So I've been doing this for a long time. And I worked in it's called May Stringer House, and it's the Hernando County Museum in Brooksville, Florida, for a year and a half.
Okay.
And I recorded a lot of really great material there. It's well known to be a haunted venue. Kindred Spirits did one of their episodes there, and they got a lot of stuff. But so that's my forte, and that's kind of my background. Give you a little heads up.
Okay.
When I was working there. Okay, what? Anything?
Oh no, yeah, go ahead. I was just gonna
No?
say what's like one cool experience or something you could tell us about. We could kind of dig into.
Well, I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and I have a ton of experiences. So
Yeah.
at the museum, the cool thing about it, there's an elderly male energy there. First of all, I walked in, I had heard about May Stringer. There is a ton of stuff online about May Stringer. And so I'd heard about it, and I walked in just Thursday afternoon, took the tour. There was nobody else there but me and a couple of the docents. The curator was there. So I went and I took the tour. I told them what I do, that I record. And the curator was very excited. And I was thinking I'd always wanted a lab to try this stuff out in a real way, repeatedly, not just a one-off here and there. So I told her what I do. I asked her if I could record. She says, yeah, sure. I'm going to close up the house. You go anywhere you want and record. So I went to the second floor, went to the children's room, sat down on the floor, started shooting video, and I happened to have a recorder too, so I was recording audio. And when I got home and listened to the recording, they were talking right out loud. I've never heard anything like this in my life. I mean, every question I asked, they answered. I couldn't hear them at the time. It all showed up on recording. So it was amazing to me. I mentioned to them I wanted to become a docent. Would it be okay? Female energy answered yes. This older gentleman, as I was getting ready to go, I had some stuffed animals. There's supposed to be a child spirit in the house. I had stuffed animals, and I was, oh, this is so cute. Oh, come and play with me, Jessie May, blah, blah, blah. So this woman says, Jessie May can't play with you. I mean, literally, they're talking out loud on the recording. It was ridiculous. It was the most ridiculous recording I've ever reviewed. But the older gentleman, I said, I'm going to go now. I think I'll try and become a docent here. I hope it's okay. And just then you can hear him say, of course I was talking to you, young lady, on the recording. And
So this is on the recording, and you didn't hear any of this. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's interesting.
I did not hear it. They answered questions. Another spirit. Okay, let me just preface this by saying, I know you're going to ask me this, and I know it's going to come up. I don't know who I'm talking to. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you for sure it's a ghost. I mean, I've kind of come to terms with the fact that it's not in the room with me when it speaks, whatever it is, that it seems to be aware of what I'm doing. It seems to be able to converse with me in an intelligent fashion. They seem to be spontaneous responses. And, I can't say for sure that this is a dead human. And
Right.
I cannot tell you that this is a human.
All right.
I'll be completely honest with you. I thought
So
this stuff through.
yeah. So my problem is
So
that
anyway,
you've got a voice recorder, just and it works just like what the
yeah.
setup I've got. I've got a mic. It works off sound waves. How is a
Okay.
mic able to pick up something that you're not able to hear? What kind of mic are you using?
Hmm.
I wasn't using anything special, but okay. How can I don't know exactly how they managed to put this stuff on the medium. I don't know how that works. I don't know how they get it into the recorder. I do know in some cases, I've been doing this so long now, I couldn't hear them or see them when I was growing up. Now that I've been doing this so long, for so many years, I've been investigating for 40 years. I've been recording for almost 20. And so now when I record, sometimes I can hear them talking, but it's very, very, very quiet. And those kind of things, you raise the volume and you can hear them. So you can hear them in the room with you. Sometimes you hear nothing. And then you listen to this on a sound program and boom, they're talking. And it's intelligible. This is not like
So
ghost shows. This is not like on
so
Ghost Adventures
are
or
these?
anything. These are like
So
little
what are you recording onto? What are you recording onto?
Yeah.
Are you recording onto
I have an
tape?
Olympus recorder. I have an Olympus digital recorder that I use. I also, sometimes I'll back it up with video and it'll show up on one or the other, or sometimes both. But it's not like you hear on the ghost shows. It's not like weird little boot or some, silly little like corrupt sounding thing.
Sure.
It's full sentences, full thought. This older gentleman had talked to me several times at May Stringer. Once I was sitting in the children's room. The second time was outside on the ground. Again, he said, "Young lady, you're going to stay all day?" And then I was on the third floor, which is the attic area. And
Right.
he yelled at me that time. So I picked all of those up on different areas.
Right.
But he always called
So
me young lady. And I
yeah,
found it really interesting.
so you call yourself a communications tech. What kind of training do you need? Because
Yeah.
like the guy who set up my mic and stuff for me and got it all dialed in and got my voice sounding as good as it does, calls himself
Yeah.
a sound guy, not a communications tech. So what kind of training goes into
I'm
being a
not a
communications
sound
tech? Hmm?
Nothing. Basically, okay, I can tell you how it all started. One of the relatives that I was talking about, I have relatives in my family that are spirit sensitive. They were born with mediumistic abilities, but
Okay.
they're not mediums. They're not commercial mediums. And one of them one day was driving down the road, was compelled to pull over, and was told by spirit that Kenda needs to start recording. Kenda is going to find a way to present what we say on recording. You need to tell her this. Well, I didn't believe any of them. I was like,
Okay.
okay, right.
So you were supposed to
And they
find a
told me,
way
no,
and
we're going to do this.
yeah.
So I
So
don't, that is some my experience as a sound person. I have no experience. My kids would tell you I'm winging
okay.
it.
So
That's what I do.
so you're
Yeah.
winging it. You're not using any special equipment. How are you eliminating
Nothing.
variables as you do this? How are you, what variables are you eliminating and how are you eliminating them?
Okay, the number one thing is we don't know anything about any of the variables. We don't know anything about any variables involved in a good session or something when no one talks at all. We don't know what the criteria is or what might be different. I do know sometimes I turn the recorder on and there's nothing much. And sometimes I turn it on and it's amazing.
So
They sing on recording. I had, all kinds of
so what are
crazy
you
things
doing to
happen.
find these
But
variables and to find what are you
Yeah.
doing to find these variables and to figure out what's going on? What are you doing to do that?
you're talking about something that is totally mysterious. I mean, the stuff that you guys are talking about, it. It's just in the realm of the mysterious. We don't know anything about any of this. How would I don't even know how I would establish any variables.
Well,
What I do
so here
know
we go.
is
I can give you I can give you some stuff here real quick, right? And I'm just an analytical
yeah,
guy. I'm
tell
just a
me. Like
software
you start with
engineer,
that.
and
I
honestly,
make sure there's no
I
Hang
would
on,
use
Kenda,
yeah.
can you hang on for us just a second? We don't want to talk over each other. Let Jim
yeah.
go for a minute, and then we'll throw it right
Yeah,
back to you.
so
Okay.
I can give you a couple of things you can do, right? You can get sensitive microphones. You can test the microphones to see what they can and cannot pick up, so you know what the audio ranges are to verify the mics are in fact are as good as they say they are. You
Right.
can put it through a stress analyzer. You can put it through analyzers. You can put it. I mean, you can use multiple microphones, all going to different inputs. I mean, there's so many things that
Okay.
you can do that a basic analytical mind, like you claim you have, and I'm sitting here going, you haven't done anything except, oh look, sometimes I hear voices on this audio and I have no explanation, and you've done nothing to come up with an explanation, and that kind of baffles me, right? I mean, it's digital, so it's unlikely that there was something else recorded there, but what is it in fact picking up? And that's something you've got to figure out. I mean, you could put two microphones in the room if they're directional and figure out where in the room a voice is coming from. And there's just so many things you can do, and it sounds to me like you're just going in with an off-the-shelf, digital voice recorder and hitting play, and that's not science. I mean, that's not anything. And I don't know why, I don't understand why this would convince anybody that what you're getting is real, because you're not actually trying to do anything. You're not trying to eliminate variables. You're not trying to eliminate, oh, hey, the digital voice recorder is actually uh, picking up a cell phone signal, or some other weird
Okay.
audio thing that's going on. It's really, really hard to listen to what you're saying and hear you say you have an analytical mind and you've done zero analysis.
Okay. Well, I can tell you, for me, the most important part of all of this is the information that comes through. I mean, I could employ a sound engineer or someone who would be, mindful of all of those sort of things. I'm more impressed by the information that comes through. I'm more impressed by hearing things that I'd have no way of knowing that are verified later, like precognitive things. And it's more about the information to me than it is about the technical aspects,
So
because
somebody is
they
just
do.
playing with you, giving you stuff that they can Google that you think is nobody else knows, and they're simply playing with you. How did you eliminate that as a possibility?
Okay, well, I'll give you an example. In December of 2019, I did a recording. I did a recording in my house, and it was good. They were talking on it. Fantastic. I did another recording on January 6th of 2020. Same deal. It was in my house. Just did a recording. There was some singing on that recording. So I took a segment of it and I uploaded it on my Facebook page. I upload a lot of my evidence on my Facebook page. It's just what I do. When we got into the thick of COVID around, summertime of 2020, I decided to look back and see if there was anything on the recordings that might have given a hint that this was coming, the pandemic. When I went over the December recording of 2019, there was a male voice that said, "Dudes, they're dying of COVID." Okay, December 2019. We hadn't had the first case of COVID. They hadn't even named it yet. And this voice said it on the recording. January 6th, we hadn't had the first case of COVID in this country. Nobody was talking about. In fact, Anthony Fauci had said that this would never touch the American people, ever. I don't even think Trump had stopped any of the travel from China yet. On that recording, it says April, May, people need to be off the street and out of the bar rooms. 80,000 dead individuals. That's the message. I inadvertently put that message on my Facebook page. So I have it time and date coded.
Yeah.
That's the kind of information that makes me sit up and take notice. And I don't really care about the technical stuff because I just can't wrap my mind around it other than it's a precognitive method.
Can I jump in for a second, Kenda? Can I just kind of
yeah,
because there's a couple of different things
Yeah.
for sure. One thing I want to say, well, two things actually. One, Philip Leitch, thank you for your super chat. We appreciate you. And Kenda, if you are willing to, there's a wonderful man behind the curtains. His name is Ethan. He is the great producer here for this wonderful show and a couple of others. And I know for a fact I'm giving him homework. Normally I give homework to the callers, but would you send him this information and stuff? I know we would just absolutely adore being able to listen to these recordings or see these videos or whatever. Especially if we could, walk through it together in a future show. One thing that I'm wondering, and I'm really interested on this because I see that oh, real quick, I see we have another super chat from I Got Cookies. Thank you as well. But it seems to me that you've been doing this for a while, right? This isn't something you just picked up last week, right?
Yeah. Right.
Before you started doing this, Kenda, did you already believe that there were ghosts or spirits or supernatural or anything? Did you already accept that as true?
I didn't know. That was the whole thing. I had seen physical phenomena, but I was young. I didn't really know. I didn't know how it happened, and I didn't know, I had no concept of it. I wanted to prove it for myself. I wanted to say, okay, there's either something here or there isn't. There's something that we don't see that is communicating with my relatives primarily, or there isn't. So when I started the recording thing, the first time I recorded, I put up a list of questions on my kitchen cabinet, and I said I'm going to record at 4:30 a.m. and I'm going to give you I'll ask some questions, and if you can say something, if you can come through, try and do that. And if you do, great. If you don't, if I don't hear anything, I'll never do this again. And that was it. That was kind of my sort of ultimatum to nobody in particular. So I got up and did the session, and there was somebody talking. So that was where to start.
Is there an experience that you could have, or maybe a test, or just some box that's checked? All hypothetical. But is there something that you could think of right now that could maybe disconfirm this belief, or maybe just make you kind of go, that's shaky there. Is there something you could think of that would maybe, like, for instance, I feel pretty confident that I have some roasted chicken in my fridge. I'm almost 100% confident, and it's in green Tupperware. If I walked to my fridge and opened the door and there was not green Tupperware in there, I would feel pretty good about saying I probably don't have that roast chicken. Is there something like that you could think of, maybe?
Well, my problem is these things have happened so many times, and so much has come through that I'd have no way of knowing that. And you have to understand, these, whatever it is, it's consciousness or whatever. Sometimes I speak in a voice with a particular vocal pattern, with that sounds like one person in particular. Sometimes they say their names. I mean, are you saying, well, somebody's going to tell me, geez, it's just not true because X?
Well, I mean, for instance, real quick, Kenda, for instance, let's say you do one of these recordings, and when you're going back and you're listening to it, not only do you hear an answer to your question, but then you also hear somebody go, hey, Joey, man, can you believe we're messing with Kenda like this? And then the other guy goes, yeah, Bill, that's crazy. We love Kenda, but this is awesome. Like, if you heard that on the recording, would that like disconfirm for you? Would that make you feel like maybe this isn't real?
Well, here's the deal with that. I mean, I thought of all this stuff. Here's the deal with that. I never record at the same time. So how would anyone know when I'm recording to do that? I mean, what would some idiot sit there if I use a ghost box? They'd sit there for maybe 2 days waiting for me to turn the darn. No, they wouldn't.
I'm not
So, I
saying
mean,
whether or
that to
not
me
it.
doesn't make
Hang on,
any-
Kenda. I think we're talking past each
Yeah.
other just a little bit, and I want to clear it up because I'm not saying that somebody is doing that. I'm definitely not saying that it's even necessarily reasonable that somebody does that. I'm simply asking you, if you go do a recording session tomorrow, at whatever time, at whatever place, with whatever materials, and then you listen back to the recording, and you hear exactly that, would that make you question whether or not the other recordings were real?
Okay, so if I heard, and then some living person stepped out from behind the curtain and said, "Hey, you look like an idiot," that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like
sure,
somebody
sure,
would actually come to me and go, "Boy, you fell for it." That would,
sure.
yeah.
That would make you kind of question these things.
But that's what you're talking about, is if somebody like actually came up and said, "Hey, I was, goofing on you," all that. What? It would if it happened. If it happened, I'd say, "Oh, okay, so."
Yeah, this is
somebody
just a
somehow
hypothetical
got
game.
through.
I'm not saying that
Yeah,
it is occurring.
Yeah, somebody, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I think
I
that's really good, Kendon. Here's why, because this was kind of like tying back, I think, to our first caller tonight, which we've had such wonderful calls. Thank you so much, by the way, for hanging with us. But I worry whenever we talk about aliens or Bigfoot or God or ghosts or a lot of these things, spirits, crystals. I worry that there are many of us out there that hold these beliefs, and we aren't interested in looking at things that might disconfirm that belief. And that was kind of why I asked that, because I wanted to know if you would actually be interested in learning, if it were possible. Again, I'm not saying somebody is messing with you, but I think it's really, really awesome and really valuable that you do still say, yeah, if one of my buddies came up to me tomorrow and just told me he was pulling my leg the whole time, like, I would start to question it. But I don't want to let you go just yet. I want to jump back over to Jim real quick. He's been quiet for a minute. What you got?
Well, on the topic of science and how we do science, science isn't necessarily interested in proving anything. For instance, we can prove that Santa Claus exists. There's a whole bunch of evidence that some guy named Santa Claus exists. However, it's only when you start to disprove something that you actually start getting into the nitty-gritty and finding out that no, in fact, Santa Claus doesn't exist. And this is a concept called pseudoscience. And the word was first coined. I want to remember the philosopher's name here in a minute, unless someone pops it up in chat for me real quick. Karl Popper. That Karl Popper points out. And this is at the time when Freud and Einstein were alive at the same time, and he's pointing out that Freud, in his hypotheses, he would bend the facts to fit his conclusions. And here you have Einstein waiting on data to come in to prove his hypothesis true or false. And he's not going to bend the data to fit his narrative. And Karl Popper calls what Freud was doing pseudoscience. And that is what pseudoscience is. It's simply bending the facts to fit your already drawn conclusions. Whereas when we do science, we try not to have preconceived notions of what's going on. We'll have ideas and then we'll attempt to test them. And the most important test we can do is to falsify what we think is going on. And so that is the most important thing that you can do. You can claim, all the prophecy stuff you want in this stuff, but prophecies are really, really tough to prove their actual prophecies, especially when you say, well, I went back and looked at the data again and came to the conclusion that it was in fact prophecy. Yeah, hindsight's 2020. And you can do that. And this is why I was harping on what were you doing? How are you analyzing all this? I was trying to find out what you were doing to falsify it. And if you really want to know if what you're hearing is real, that's what you have to do. Is you have to try everything within your power to prove it to be false, which means you need to study sound engineering. And actually, you don't have to go to school for it. There's enough stuff online, and everybody else has got stuff on there, and start eliminating things so that you can start to actually try to disprove your hypothesis. And if you fail, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's got to be done by multiple people. And then you've got to have something that is repeatable. So, I mean, I'm sorry, but this just isn't enough to come close to convincing me that you have anything but a bunch of really interesting stories and no idea how they actually happened.
No idea how they happened.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that. I have to say that I think all of this exists out of the realm of material science. And I think that's the big hiccup in all of this, is that none of this can be tested with experimental method because it just doesn't operate like that.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let me ask you this question.
With the quantum, area. I mean,
No.
I think
Don't bring up quantum. You don't even understand science well enough to say the word.
I'm not bringing it up. I'm just saying, I'm just saying that it seems to me that material science there's no way, like I can't sit and have somebody tell me, okay, make them say the same word 8 times in one session. That just doesn't happen. That's not how
So
it
what does
works.
that tell you?
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
Well, I don't know. Okay, skeptics groups will give you a huge cash prize if you can exactly repeat phenomena 8
Give you a lot of
times
money
in a session, 8 out of 9 times. They will do that.
Yeah.
But the point, it doesn't happen like that.
So
And
let me ask you this question. When in the last 1,000 years has a supernatural explanation for any phenomena trumped a scientific naturalistic explanation for that same phenomena? When in the last 1,000 years?
I don't know. I don't even, I don't.
That's the problem. It's never happened.
You're saying that it can't be true, but it can't be true if you look.
I'm saying you have no evidence that it's true. I'm saying you have no evidence that it's true, and I'm pointing to
someone's talking, someone's.
Yes, that's all you have evidence of. You don't even have evidence if they're dead.
You could
don't
be.
have
I
evidence.
don't need to.
You admitted this though, right? I mean, you're not sure if they're ghosts. You're not sure if they're aliens or what, right? It could be. It could be somebody in another room that maybe the sound waves are just traveling kind of weird through the pipes or something, right? Like, it is possible that there are other answers other than a supernatural element, right? Because you haven't.
You know what? I'm willing to. Yeah. You can say that, and that's possible.
Sure.
I just look at it like I said, to me, the information that comes through is more interesting than having to try to jump through hoops to satisfy materialist science. I just don't care. The material aspect of it.
Yeah.
I don't care. And you can say, well, then it's nothing. But I don't think it. I
guess I'm a little confused, Kinda. Because hang on just a second. I guess I'm a little confused because I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Like for me personally, as somebody now, I haven't heard the recordings, and again, I'd like to just say, please, at the end of this show or tomorrow or something, make sure to reach out to Ethan Micheal, the guy behind this wonderful channel. We would love to hear those, and maybe if I heard them, my mind would change. But I don't feel like I'm jumping through any hoops to accept the material world. I think it's just kind of what is here in front of me. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think I'm pretty open to there being what I like to call funky weirdness that happens in the world. I guess
That's
for me, just like Jim, I think we need something more than kind of just these vague voices in the background. And I want to know why it's not repeatable. It seems to be when I drop this pen every time, I mean, it's repeatable. I could just do that 1,000 times over. And I wonder why in this case or in cases like this, it doesn't work that way. All that being said, though, again, Kenda, I really just want to say once again, thank you for hanging out with us. We love having these discussions. This is why we get on and do this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if you would like to, again, please send some recordings. We will listen to them and we can walk through them live on air if that's something that you would find fun. So I know we'd enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely.
me. I just happen to think there's more to everything here than what our five senses tell us. That's all.
Yeah. Well,
That's all.
we think that that's going to open up the door for some more conversations. That's where I think, and I think that's a great place to leave it. So
yeah, sounds great.
Awesome. Well, thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one. Don't do anything we wouldn't do, or I mean, I don't know about you, Jim. I'm pretty open, so I'm out to do all kinds of.
Yeah,
it
does leave a lot.
I'd like to find ghosts. I'd be so cool with that. I think it would be really, really awesome. But I think you brought up a really, really good point that a lot of us often forget, which is, you know, we can basically do anything to prove something. It's about disproving stuff. It's about really, really trying hard to say, when I drop this pen, will it fall? You know? And when it seems to fall every single time, I think that's some good evidence. And I think it's also some good evidence when if it didn't, right? Like if this just suspended right here, baby, like we'd have a lot to talk about, folks.
Oh yeah. And we would have a lot to test and a lot of things to look at and questions to ask and new understandings of science to come out of it. And when she says, well, it's about the information, not about how it got there. Well, there's a reason why chain of evidence in court cases are so important, right? It's because if you don't know where the information came from, you don't know how true it is, you don't know how they came across it. If it is somebody just, you know, in multiple locations punking her, or maybe she's bringing an entourage of some kind, I don't know, that's just punking her, how does she know it's interesting information? No, you can't answer that question. You got to know where it's coming from in order to ask those questions. And when we look at history, and we can go, at no point in history has a supernatural explanation superseded a natural explanation for any phenomena. And it's the exact opposite over and over again. The likelihood of a supernatural explanation being the right explanation is vanishingly small, which is why we call it God of the gaps or supernatural of the gaps.
I agree.
Dude, you guys kicked ass tonight.
Oh, thanks.
We unfortunately lost 2 callers during the show. We had 5 total and ended up with only 3. So sad.
That's okay.
Speaking of which, a way you can help the show out is if you know anyone who has a conspiracy theory, believes in the afterlife, soul, mediums, God, any of that, refer them to me and let's have them call the show. Pretty pleased with sugar on top. You can also become a patron for as low as $1 a month. I'd also like to thank our top tier patrons: Cindy PLAZA, Left Right Left, Ryan Hammond, Kenneth Leonard, Skye, Secular Rarity, Philip Leitch, Richard Gilliver, _Atheism, Ameet Mathew, Ray Sylvester, and Gerudo-san. Thank you so much for your patronage. Jim, Secular Rarity. Oh, you know what I got to talk about is the fundraiser, February 19th. We're doing a fundraiser for Recovering from Religion. It's a Saturday night. It's from 6 to 10 p.m. Central. And we have 37 YouTubers on total. Names like Kenneth Leonard, Hannah Vaughn, Seth Andrews, Genetically Modified Skeptic, Zara K, Jim Barrows, Pasta Mike, Oz, Mandisa Thomas, Shannon Q, Guileless Engineer, Eric Murphy, Daryl Ray, Dave Warnock, Genevieve, Jake the Atheist, Myth Vision Podcast, Holy Kool-Aid, Brain Bug, Vice Rhino, The Antibot, Cynthia McDonald, Neil the 604 Atheist, Tang, J Mike, Paula Gia, the list goes on.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's going to be a really good time. We got a lot of great people, a 4-hour jam-packed event. I will put the link in the chat right now. I'm working on it. Sorry. I'll put the link in the chat right now. Please, someone's already ahead of me. I should have trusted my mods. Put the link in the description, in the chat, and it will bring you over to the video, and then click set reminders so you could be reminded for when this event is happening. We are trying to raise $10,000 for recovering from religion. So if one of the mods could also put the donate link in the chat, that would be awesome as well. Jim, what do you got going on?
Not much, just the usual stuff. Trying to get supposed to be on the Sunday show, but due to my own incompetence, I missed that. So I'm looking forward to the next time I'm there. I'll be on Atheist Experience later on in the month. And that is pretty much here. I'll be back here next first Tuesday of March.
Sweet.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
And then SR, I don't know what else you have going on, but I know you have one thing going on. Next Monday, you're going to be on AVT with Eddie Kroom from Brute Facts Podcast.
I am very excited for that. I think that's going to be a lot of really fun. If you are watching this show now or in the future and you have not come to AVT, seriously, it is a hot, hot, hot show. Kenneth, Leonard, Dan Jacobs. We had Dave Warnock and Craig Reed last night. I mean, guys, you have got to freaking come hang out. So that's me. I get to hang out every so often on the nonprofits over on the ACA. If you're not watching that show, guys, 3 p.m. Central, it's so easy. You watch Talk Heathen, you're going to watch AXP afterwards. Just stay around for the one in the middle. It's simple. Like, it takes less effort. So, but that's it. That's it for me.
And for those that don't know what AVT is, it's Atheist versus Theist. It is a call-in show with an atheist and a theist co-hosting together. So sometimes the hosts end up battling it out. It makes for some interesting conversations, especially when you call in. That's all I got. Secular Rarity, Jim Barrows, thank you so much. We're going to be doing the Discord after show. So if you want to continue the conversation with us, join us on Discord right now. Have a good night.